Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update on, you guessed it, gold and silver. We're going to talk about dollar, 10-year yield, precious metals, ETFs, and some of the individual companies to get a good gauge on what gold and silver is doing, what I would do, what my financial opinion is. We had Jerome Powell, he's talking about tapering, increasing and hiking interest rates, and I think what people don't understand is that when you have inflation, interest rates will follow. That's what comes next. With interest rates going up, in my opinion, it is not going to hurt gold and silver so long that the inflation stays high. If the inflation stays high and the interest rates come up a little bit, and again, he hasn't raised them yet, but if they do, it's going to cause money to rotate into the sector, in my opinion. So let's look at the charts. Let the charts do the talking, and I'll give you my financial opinion. Please don't take it as advice. And here we go. We got the dollar up. And I heard in the background, go dollar. No, we don't want the dollar to go up or down. It doesn't really matter. It's just paper versus paper. Big picture view, we've got this big old trend line up at 109. We've broken to the downside of this trend line, and we might be coming up to do a retest to get slaughtered. Maybe. We'll have to see and see evidence of it. We're going to zoom in on here. We have this ascending wedge pattern here. There's the wedge. We broke to the downside of it. Jerome Powell opened his mouth, and you could see a launch in the dollar. People were running to it. Probably an emotional response. But we're still coming in this downtrend down here, and it broke back down. I hate whenever I say broke back, it just sounds bad to me. Brokeback Mountain. But here it is. You can see we broke up, came back down. We're still in a downtrend. Everything's still intact for a lower dollar in the very, very short term. Looking at the 10-year yield, let's see what this thing did. So I'll just back out to a 5-year outlook. This is a reverse or inverted head and shoulders pattern. This is signaling that rates are going to want to go higher. The market is anticipating rates going higher with this pattern for sure. Zooming in on the right-hand side, let's zoom in a bunch. We've been bouncing between this resistance line and this support line. We're going boop, 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 just like that with the boop boops. And what I see here, kind of zooming way in on the right, we've got some nice buying pressure or yields going higher and then slowly coming down. I think this is going to eventually work its way higher over time on the very, very short term. We'll have to see what happens in the medium term. Looking at gold. Gold had a, what do we got here? Let me zoom back out. Here's a 1 day. Okay, we sold off today, down $11. We came up, we sold off. We had a bunch of news, a bunch of things all happening here. We sold off again. We got support down here at 1760 something, right below it. Zooming in to get a little bit better picture, we have this support line here. We did break through that support to the downside, and we're going to have probably spend some time down here to turn on around. This morning, I was like, man, we're going to do well. And then Jerome Powell was talking about this, and people sold gold and other precious metals off. But that's where we're at right now. We've got support right underneath it. Looking at silver, it's back out. We've got the inverted head and shoulders pattern, which is, I would say, invalidated at this point. I'm going to leave it there just for visual purposes. Coming on down. Very unnatural looking chart here. And it looks like we're starting to find some support. I'd like to see it span across a few days, not just a day or two. But it looks like we've got some support underneath here. I'll draw a line showing you guys what I'm seeing. There's the support. So I think they're putting a line in the sand here and saying, well, we're going to hold it here, at least for now, at 22 something. So support's holding there. It looks like we're trying to find some support. Platinum got kicked in the cojones today, and it's expected. We broke to the downside of this. We're coming on down. We're coming on down. I'm looking for this to find some support down here. I personally would be a buyer somewhere down here when this thing starts to find a bottom. And what I'm looking for is I'm trying to see if we're, kind of squeezing up somehow. Are we going to squeeze up somehow in a descending wedge pattern? And I'll leave this pattern here where we create a pattern, something on the, it could be down like this. It could be something like that. I'll just leave it there. That's my guess. If you see this thing start to find support moving sideways, then I'd be like, well, I'm going to fire off another ounce or two of platinum. I'm going to keep stacking. You buy it when it's cheap. You got to have the cojones when everyone else is fearful. You got to be interested when everyone loses interest. So I'm looking down here. It does look like palladium's finding some support as well. I'll back out here. I'm just going to throw a little trend line in here. Backing out, this is what it looks like. Big ol' chart pattern, massive break, looking fantastic on a long-term perspective. On a short-term, this thing's looking pretty nasty because it's breaking to the downside. And I wouldn't want to be palladium either. Platinum's going to substitute me at some point, and who wants to be substituted for? You can see the big sell-offs all through here. This thing's going to head lower. It will find some support when cars get manufactured and the demand kicks back up for it. So I don't think it's totally blown out. We do have deficits in the future. Palladium will be used and platinum will also substitute it, but we're still in the downtrend. But it looks like we're trying to stage a bottom here with two same priced bottoms, and we'll see if this thing can rally up. It might not and continue its downtrend. I wouldn't be doing anything. I'd just be sitting and watching it. Karora Resources. Big picture view, this thing's got me interested because it's a massive pattern. We are coming up into the upper resistance line. I think it's probably going to break. If you look, big buying pressure, small selling pressure, volumes kicking way up all the way back in 2018. So big move, smaller sell-off, big move, small sell-off, and the sell-offs are getting less and less as we come right into this resistance line. You zoom in a little bit, yeah, we came up, we conked our head on it, we came back down a little bit. It's probably going to do one last little, it's going to find support somewhere in here. Wait for that turn, fire it off if you like it, sprinkle some masters in, and then ride it higher. That's what I think. EXK is looking a little bit better. I like it. The reason I like it, yes, it was down today. It doesn't mean I like a down day, but I like the momentum and the way that it's behaving. It looks like it's trying to find a bottom here. We jetted higher in the morning. It did sell off with Powell opening his mouth. It could move a little more sideways here, but what I'm looking for is kind of this trend line here, and it looks like it's trying to come up into it, and we'll see if this thing holds and can do a little break here. But again, the morning looked fantastic. I'm like, oh, this thing could turn, and then it reversed with the taper, the Powell taper. Zooming to SILJ, and SILJ is looking better too. This morning it looked so good. And then the taper Powell, the Powell taper. Let's zoom in on the right-hand side. We're doing real kind of in there looking at it. And we were moving, guys. This thing was great. And then boom, conked on its head with some volume. I think we'll go sideways a little bit longer, and then I think we'll break to the upside. But overall, looking at like a yearly, it doesn't look bad. We got wicks on the bottom down here. I think that we're trying to stage a bottom here. And I think looking at this, if you guys like, SILJ or something, some of these silver like EXK, AG, I'd start my sprinkle mode a little bit. I did myself. So I don't have a ton of money left. So I'm sprinkling a little bit in. But that's where I'm doing it. This is the GDX ETF. GDX, it doesn't look as good. We've got some kind of bigger selling off pressure through here. See these big down days, how they kind of just jet lower. We staged a nice, I'll draw it in here. This is what I'm seeing here. Oh, come on. Couldn't even draw the line properly. We came in, we were kind of coming up on this resistance. We shot higher, and then Powell opened his mouth, boom, down, jawboning it down. And I think we've got some good support down here. So I think this support's going to hold, hopefully, but we'll see. Let's watch it over the next day or two. I think SILJ looks a little bit better than GDX, just from a charting perspective on a very short-term basis. Metallic minerals, we are still kind of bopping around this guy. When you break these large patterns like this, they tend to run quite a bit. So we broke out, we back tested, and now we're in the back test zone. The volume's kicking up. All of the signals are there. They're all there. There's no reason to be afraid. There's no reason to be running and chasing your tail when Powell says taper. What you need to be looking at is, what is the market telling you? Volume's kicking up. We got a pattern. It broke the pattern. We're doing a retest. It's doing a return move. What do we do on return moves? Everyone knows this on the channel. You can add in, sprinkle some in at this return move where there's support all underneath here. And I'm not telling you to go out and buy metallic minerals per se. This is a more risky company. It's an exploration silver company. But if you have a little in there, let it ride and just be patient. Koya Silver, this guy's not finding support. I would be a little more worrisome here. We came up and it's starting to fall back over. This one looks like it's struggling. Now, people say, when would I sell? I would be doing it right now because this thing doesn't have support below it. That's me on Koya Silver. Discovery Silver, and remember, these are exploration companies. These have a lot more risk associated with them. They don't bounce back sometimes. So looking at Discovery Silver, this guy had a pretty good day, with respect to everyone else, 4.33% up. Zooming on in, a nice little bounce here. Still kind of in a downward motion. We do have support down below it at about $1.37. It bounced off that support. AG, I still like AG quite a bit. I think the big picture view looks absolutely ridiculously fantastic. We break above this line. I mean, we tried. We came back below it, but this is going to eventually break, and it could break. Maybe it takes a year. We'll see. But the chart looks fantastic. The volume looks fantastic. The silver, I think, is going to do very well coming on up. And this is one I'm definitely watching. And I own some shares. We've got a descending wedge pattern. There it is. We broke to the upside of that descending wedge. We're coming on back. I like it down here. If it can find some support somewhere down here and start to turn back up, I'm going to, if I have money at that time, hopefully it can stay down a little bit longer. I'll do a little bit of sprinkling in there. Here's Newmont Corporation. Newmont's right at support. We'll back out and I'll show you kind of a descending wedge. Broke out to the upside. It's at support. Hopefully this support holds and we move on higher. Big picture view, this thing's got a massive pattern that's about to break. Absolutely massive. What does this pattern go back? It goes to 1978 all the way to 87, and it's creating a gigantic pattern which will eventually break and move far higher from where it is today. It's going to be a big move. This is what keeps me focused, is these big picture views, these descending wedges that we're breaking to the upside with another descending wedge. And we can buy this stuff, guys, in a descending wedge for a very good price. Yamana Gold looks very good for a long-term patient investor. If you guys are impatient, you're going to go in and out, and it's not going to work for you. This is going to be a longer-term hold. Impact Silver, a smaller silver-producing company. We have a big picture view where this thing broke its large pattern, came up, and we are coming on back here. It's getting a little bit more hairy on the right-hand side here. Let's zoom in a lot. Probably too much there. Downtrend line, we broke it, back tested, we're coming on up. Kind of consolidated through here and broke back down. I'd be patient. Let's see this thing gather its footing before adding more new capital. Aftermath silver, it's finding a little bit of support down here. It's been just going back and forth between this setup here. I drew it in quite a long time ago, and it's just been following it. I've been grinding sideways, bumping and grinding sideways. But down here, if you guys have a little bit of riskiness in your blood, maybe get a little bit of sprinkle in there. If you want a more riskier silver play, and I don't condone going into these exploration kind of riskier plays. Looking at royalty companies, Sandstorm Gold, I like it down here, guys. I really do. There's a lot of support underneath it. You've got this big trend line support right underneath it. I think it looks good. And we've got big buying pressure, smaller selling pressure kind of all through here. Hopefully we can find support and this thing can rocket on higher. Franco-Nevada, the pattern it looks fantastic. It's playing out. This thing could go a little bit higher or more to the right before breaking. Zooming way in, you can see it hit the top there, hit the bottom, and we're kind of bouncing around. But it's a royalty company. It's done incredibly well over time. If you guys are patient, I think it's going to do well. And all of these companies, notice that they all have these massive patterns that are forming. They all have it. Here's EMX, the big pattern and the break. Another pattern here. This could break to the downside here. We'll go to the 1 year. It is playing around here. So it is one to watch. But if the rest of the group is going to the upside, I mean, this could reverse very quickly. Tuden Resources, still, it's grinding here lower. $1.52. It is struggling some. Nice big reversal patterns through here. It's trying to maintain it. We got nice big buying pressure at the end of this day. We'll see what happens. Haven't lost faith in it yet. Here's Wheaton Precious Metals. Go to a 1 year here. We came up. We're bouncing on this resistance line here. We've got this big pattern we broke to the upside, and then another pattern that's created here. We've been bouncing on the top side of this resistance for a while. We're creating number 3. Number 3 is where we launch, but it can come all the way down here, or it just goes and turns and launches up. I don't have that answer for you, but everyone knows by looking at these charts where we are in the pattern. Here's Gold Royalty. Looks like a little fish there. Gold Royalty, big up days, smaller down days. It's coming right to this edge of the pattern. Here's the 1 year, looking at 1 year and daily candlesticks. It's looking actually very good. I think we could probably pop here at any second. Hopefully gold and other precious metals, gold and silver, are accommodative to this pop. But it looks pretty good. I would be looking at it right here, right now. Metallic minerals, just zooming on out. This guy's right there. Let's hope it can hold. And if we can break to the upside, I think we're going to see a big move. Hopefully, I don't think, even if this breaks to the downside, I still think it's going to resolve upward because of the market conditions and valuations of not just gold and silver in relationship to other things, but the market conditions in housing and inflation and all that. Mavericks Metals, still doing okay, but we're still below this pattern here. So this could potentially break down, but again, depends what gold and silver does. Highly depends on that. Here's Royal Gold. Royal Gold, looking at it, we've got this big old pattern. On a very long-term perspective, this thing's done very well since the 91, from 3 cents, probably split adjusted to $100. These royalty companies, they continue to pay over time and just hold on to them. But Royal Gold does look decent. It looks like it's trying to put in a pattern here and a break at some point. And here's a Cisco Gold Royalties. This is one that I'm interested in. Big old long-term kind of non-breaking pattern. Once we break this to the upside, I think we'll see a huge run whenever gold and silver will allow. Big volume increasing over here. It's accumulating. So that's what I've got for today. Hopefully you guys, this helps you out. I actually think that increased rate hikes, whether they taper or not, I think increased rate hikes, or rate hikes or increasing interest rates will actually help us in the long term. It's going to cause a rotation of money so long that inflation stays high. But overall, I think this sector looks fantastic for a long-term patient investor. If you guys are really impatient, I would say stocks probably aren't your game. You gotta find something else. But when these things break, I think there's a lot of valuation runway ahead of us, and I think it's a pretty low risk bet. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.